to episode 11 of the Tyddyn Bryn podcast. My name is Ellie, and today is Monday, strange day for me to podcast, Monday the 12th of February. And I'm only a week or so later than planned to podcast, but hey ho, it's giving you extra time to enter the giveaway, which I'll get into later. We've had bouts of illness, starting with Toddle Chops and ending in basically all of us getting an absolutely stinking cold. So all of last week we were basically holed up inside, recuperating, sleeping when we could, generally trying to get well and get voices and stop the snivelling, the sneezing, the snot trails. I think today's probably the first day I'm not completely and utterly covered in little slime trails of snot from the toddler. Joy! Anyway, on to knitting. I keep looking this direction. I've got my show notes over here. I'm back at my table today. I've got all sorts of bits and pieces around me. I might have to stop and start a bit. So I've got one finished object, which I've put directly in front of me. I have finished Toddle Chops' socks. These are my pattern, which you can find in my Ravelry shop. And some yarn that I was gifted. It's the same yarn that I used on my dad's socks. If you look on my Ravelry page, it's on there because I have forgotten to grab the yarn band. And so this is the it was a freebie. Somebody was destashing some yarn. Jenny from All About Yarn, actually, I think it was destashing some yarn, and so I've used up the leftovers plus a bit from dad's socks to make Toddle Chops a matching pair, which is a good thing because he's stuck his toe through yet another one of his hand knits. I think he's trapping them somehow in his high chair and making a right royal mess of them, which is joyful. Ooh. Anyway, so that's my finished object. I've got a new cast on, which is, leaning out of shot down here in my knitting basket. If I just ferret it out from underneath so many other things. I'm a bit of 6s and 7s today. I have cast on another Weasley sweater, and I've knitted that much. I'm knitting it in the round again. This one is for me, and it's nice purple. Not sure if I'm going to do the lettering or whatnot on the front at the moment, but I'm knitting it in Hayfield Bonus Aran, hence the giant balls of yarn. And it's lovely brainless knitting at the end of the day, which has been exactly what I've needed. I need to find my other needle protector and put that on. So yes, one Weasley sweater cast on. I haven't really had chance to give my shawl that I showed you last time much love, mainly because it needs brain power. It's a design in progress, and I'm trying to make sure that each row is spot on correct. I have knitted it once before, as I said, for my gran for our wedding, but it needs brain power, and this last couple of weeks I've been a bit of a space cadet. Little man's been waking up again at night, so what can you do? Let's put that back down on the floor. I have also been swatching for some new designs. I have been using this glorious, and that's showing up the colour nicely, this glorious yarn. This yarn is, I've started being organised now, putting all of my yarn bands inside the ball. This is All About Yarn, and it is Tibetan Owl. It's Jenny's Tibetan Owl. Hi, Jenny. It's 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, 20% yak, and it is lovely. Really, really nice yarn. And plus, it smells amazing. It smells absolutely amazing, this yarn. Literally, as I was winding it, these plumes of beautiful smell were coming off. I don't know what you use, Jen, but it's gorgeous. So I've been swatching up some bits and pieces in that. Hang on, if I scurry around to the bottom of the basket. So just little swatching squares. They've not been blocked or anything yet. But the shine, I don't know if that's showing up. There's a sheen on this with the silk in it. And the smell, oh, beautiful. And there's a little, again, not blocked, just a little diamond shape they're swatched up, so I need to get those pinned and blocked and pinned. The next thing I've been swatching up then is it's a toy, and it's in Aran weight. It's an Aran weight alpaca. I swatched it up first of all in this. I don't know how well the design's coming out there. Little hearts in squares, and it's on the grey, the charcoal base of the Tyddyn Bryn alpaca, and I've used a little bit of the Mothie and the Squid DK worsted weight yarn in the middle there. But because it's quite low contrast, I don't think it's showing up. It's not doing too badly actually, but not showing up as well as it could. So I've started another swatch for that. In again the dark Tyddyn Bryn base. Hang on. Scurrying to the bottom of my knitting bag. Here next to me. Hauling it out. Eek. And, sorry, this is just going to be an ends of spaghetti because I haven't finished it yet. So there we go, that's showing up a lot better, you see, the swatch there. Again, it's going to be little hearts in the squares. That'll need to be blocked and pinned. And this is knitting up, the alpaca is knitting up beautifully. This is the caramel and the charcoal. And it's knitting up beautifully with a really lovely contrast. So I'm pleased with that. So that's another swatch for something I'm designing. So that's going to be a toy. So I've got a shawl in the All About Yarn Tibetan Owl, a shawl, the toy in the Aran weight, and then another, another shawl I've got planned. I'm going to swatch it in this, which is my Tyddyn Bryn Smooshy base, and this is the Azure colourway. The Smooshy's a BFL silk mix, and it's lovely. It's got a nice drape. But I have spotted something even more perfect for this shawl. It's going to be knit up eventually properly in Riven Knits, her absolutely glorious splendiferous base, and it is in Silbermond. I think I've got that pronunciation relatively okay. Silver Moon, basically. Mum is going to unravel in a week's time, and she's going to pick me up some, which is wonderful, and then she's going to get it in the post. So I will swatch it in this, but I'm going to knit the eventual one out of that Riven Knits yarn because it is stunning. I've then been winding some yarn, because I've cast off a pair of socks, I can cast on another pair, and again, because I need utterly brainless knitting at the moment, I have I'm just going to be doing vanilla socks in these, to be fair. There may be a bit of a pattern on this one, but this one is definitely just going to be a vanilla sock. These are both, I'm putting them together and hold them up. Hold them up this side, seems to be better. I've got the daylight bulb on in front of me because it is nearing evening time here today. I know I said I'd podcast earlier in the day, but it just hasn't happened today. What with playgroup and nap time and trying to get some crafting time in and housework. Oh, yeah. So yes, it's almost dinner time here, so I'm going to have to get a shift on with it. But these are both Weaver's Loft. There's no colourway names on them, but I picked them both up at Wonderwool last year. They are 75% superwash wool and 25% nylon, so hopefully they'll be good, tough enough yarns for Dad and James's feet, because one's for Dad, one's for James. I think this one's probably a bit too jazzy for Dad, so I think prefer the plain one. So they're wound up and ready to get cast on. So that's my next set of knitting projects, finishing off some of these and some swatching. So moving on to crochet. I haven't done crochet for I don't think I've done crochet actually on this podcast as yet, but I do crochet. I've balled up all the Masham and the mystery yarn and the Masham yarn that I hadn't spun. Where's the other one? It's disappeared. As I've been going it through my knitting bag. Sorry, it has disappeared. So that's the Masham balled up. I love the way this is balled up, with a bit in the middle. I wish I could have balled it all up together and had the 1, 2, 3, 4 different colours. That would have been cool, but I don't think it would have fit on my ball winder somehow, because they're each 100 grams of chunky. This was the stuff that I have Navajo plied, so it's probably not going to be the best one to have shown you. Let's see, is it going to focus? Let's put something behind it. Find a bit of paper or something. Sorry, this might be a bit fluffy, this bit of paper. Let's see if it'll focus in on this. No, it's not going to focus on that one. Anyway, this is the one that I Navajo applied. I've now washed it, thwacked it, and yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. A little bit overspun in places, a little bit squirrely. But for a first attempt at Navajo or chain plying, I'm really quite impressed. And I love the really high twist on it. Really, really love it. So I've started off with the mystery yarn, which was just a general, my old style 2-ply that I found, if you remember, on my bobbins when I hauled out my spinning wheel at the beginning of the year. And I've just started a basic trebles crochet square. So it's just crocheting up in trebles. It's crocheting up very nicely. It's going to be a nice thick warm blanket, to be fair. And I'm going to crochet a log cabin style blanket out of all of the different breeds that I'm going to be spinning up. So I've got some Gotland and some Icelandic and some other bits and pieces in my stash of spinning fibres. So once I have finished what I'm working on at the moment, I'll be working on some more breeds. And basically, as I work on a breed, I'll try and add it into the crochet blanket. So you'll be seeing the crochet section hopefully popping up a little bit more often. So, on to acquisitions. Before we get into sewing, because I've had a few acquisitions to admit to. Okay, I say a few, there's a lot. I have had... Now I'm going to be able to show you bits of these because they've already been cut out, a lot of this, into projects. So I've been, getting a bit organised. So I've got, I had a bag of all sorts of different tartan offcuts, which I've now cut out. And there's another one just behind the camera here. Started to be sewn. So lots of different tartan offcuts. One rather large 500-gram bag thereof. I got some flannelette cotton, which is rather nice and soft. I got 4 colours of Sherpa fleece fabric, various meterages. Put that back where I found it so I don't go nuts later looking for it. 4 different colours of Sherpa fleece. So I've got this lovely grey, and it's so soft. And then I've got a brown, a cream, and a black. I've also downloaded the pattern for hobby horse alpacas, which I plan to make some of those with the Sherpa fleece that I've bought. Starting off with most definitely one for my son, as he is picking bits of the Sherpa fleece fluff off everything at the moment since I started working with it. But yeah, my son is intent at the moment on pinching, when he can, the niddy noddy and riding it around my house. So I think we might need to install a hobby horse of some form or design. So I'm thinking a hobby horse alpaca would be pretty great, considering we're going to get alpacas hopefully at some point this year, if not in the next few months. So anyway, 4 colours of the Sherpa fleece, so brown, cream, black, grey. Then I was really naughty and I bought this. Isn't it fantastic? This is sweatshirt fabric that I got from company on eBay, I think. But yes, it's lovely. This is been cut already, so this is what's left over from it. So I've got about 1 metre left over from it, and I will think of something to do with it then. I will talk about what I've cut it into in the sewing section. Now there's going to be a bit of crinkling now. I have picked up 2 different colours in waterproof fabric. Again, for another project I'm due to be working on. And, sorry, a little bit more crinkling. Trying to minimise it. Some white terry toweling fabric. which is again going to be another project that I've got sort of cooking on the back burner at the moment, because I am still waiting for 2 more orders, some pretty pink cottons and some ribbing fabrics I've ordered. So yes, watch this space. Sewing's going to explode, I think, over the next couple of months. So, moving on to sewing. It's been 3 weeks since I last podcast, and I have just about finished 3 projects. I have finished 2, shake the little bits of things off, 2 little tractor hats. If you remember on the last podcast, I had just finished this one, and unfortunately it was a little bit snug on my son's giant bonce. So I think I'd messed up my seam allowances, etc, etc. But these ones are a little bit taller, quite a bit taller. So hopefully they will fit him nicely. So we have one here with a white lining, just the plain lining. And I have one tractor with mostly tractor lining, a little bit of white at the top just to finish it off. And yeah, I love this pattern. I love this pattern. I'm yet to try them on his head. Popped them to one side and have just basically forgotten about it. So I will try them on his head. And one is for little Toddle Chops and one is for Toddle Chops' little friend, who also likes tractors. So we shall be tractor buddies, I think, on their little hats. So that's 2 of my finished sewing projects. And the final one I literally finished this afternoon. Sorry, disappearing off camera. It is down in the knitting bag. Ah, no, it's tangled up to the yarn. Velcro and yarn. Yeah. I'll stick those bits of Velcro together before they stick to anything else. Now, it's one of the reasons I am literally practically sneezing Sherpa fleece fluff, because it is everywhere. I have finished my first AJ aviator hat. I will insert some photos of these. So I record on my mobile phone and a call came through from an unsolicited number. Don't you just love them? So yes, anyway, I have finished. We don't get any signal in this house 90% of the time. The one time I'm recording and don't need any interruptions, they manage to get through. We've got 2-foot thick stone walls to stop that. Anyway, I have finished my first aviator hat. This one is for James. It's in various tartan offcuts. It's the reason I've got the tartan offcuts. All lined out with the grey Sherpa fleece. I thought the grey would help to hide some of the dirt and dust and yuck that accrues around the farm. I'll insert some pictures of it here. I've tried it on him and he loves it. He says it's just snuggly and warm. Just got 1 or 2 things to make. 1 or 2 changes to make. I think I haven't made the brim, the fabric maybe on the outer quite stiff enough. And I need to check back through the instructions just to see how to get the brim to stay upright, because it kept sort of flopping down over his face. Worst comes to it, I'm just going to put a little popper on it, so if he needs to flap it down for any reason he can. So it's up and out of his face for the majority of the time. That would be good. And he has requested that I put more Velcro on just to tighten the chin straps, because the ear flaps, chin straps, everything together just makes it that little bit too big. He just wants it a bit tighter around his chin, so if the wind does whip around him, at least it'll stay on his head. So I will insert some photos anyway of that finished object. Started the one for William today. This is what was hiding behind the camera. So I've started the ear flaps. So William's going to get a red tartan, again with grey fleece insert. And he's got a mix of, there's a mix of red tartans there. So you've got the nice bright red and then the dark red and then a bit of red and green. So all the different ones. Because it's offcuts, you know, you don't get very much of each fabric. So, but it's perfect for these hats, absolutely perfect. Nice, it's quite a firm wool. I think maybe I should have done it in a slightly firmer fabric to get the brim to stand up, but you know, that's something I can overcome. And I like the fact that it's a nice sturdy wool outer and then the Sherpa fleece for the inner. So yes, anyway, I've been finding crawling around on the floor increasingly not fun for cutting out. So I've now spent a chunk of time crawling around on the floor, getting some of the big projects all cut out, ready. And yeah, smaller ones I can still manage sat here at the table. Just have to clear a bit more space, but I can manage those here at the table. So I've cut out the big projects that I'm going to do for the next sort of couple of months. And well, if I'm allowed, no, hang on, 5 weeks. Because that's how long we have left to go before we are a family of 4, not 3. So yes, I cut out a few big projects. We'll see if I get them sewn up in that time. If not, I've got a few for sewing up just after, when I might not want to crawl around on the floor anymore either. So I've cut out a Coco dress, another Coco, will be my 3rd Coco dress by Tilly and the Buttons. Let me just stretch across and get the fabric there for that. A little bit of noise coming from downstairs. Other half is looking after small man downstairs. So in this sort of dusty blue, it's a jersey I picked up at the Village Haberdashery on the 2016 yarn crawl around London. Great London yarn crawl. So yep, I've finally cut out the Coco dress for that. I've also cut out, looking at this actually, it's reminded me, some Barcelona joggers for William in that. So that's some just little, they'll be sort of lightweight summer joggers. I think living here up on the farm, he will need long trousers a lot more of the time, especially with all the sort of the bits and pieces and the nettles, and you know, if we go running off through the fields, he's going to need something covering his legs up. So I don't think shorts are going to be too great, but he doesn't want to be too warm at the same time. So it's a medium weight jersey, probably a bit lighter weight than the 2 I've done before. So I shall sew that up. I've made a couple of alterations to the pattern as I've previously sewn it. So I've made a couple of changes to how I've previously sewn it. So I'm going to see how that turns out, because where I've altered it to fit my bust, I found the neckline has widened as well. So I've tweaked that a little bit just to make sure that that I don't have any overly expanded neckline, which I seem to have had on some of the other, at least one of the other dresses. I have cut out a Grainline Studios. Where is it? Grainline Studios Linden sweatshirt in this wonderful fabric. And I can't wait. It's going to be a lightweight sweatshirt. I'm just, as I said, just waiting now for the ribbing fabric to come in, and I can get sewing on that. So that's Grainline Studios Linden. I have cut out an Agnes top by Tilly and the Buttons. The black part, the bodice is going, the body of the top is going to be in a black, or is cut out in a black jersey, and the sleeves are going to be in this, just because this is fantastic. And I had space on the cutting out for sleeves in this, and I thought, oh, why the hell not? I've cut out less the one you've seen today, James's one. I've cut out 5 more aviator hats in various sizes. The next one I'm working on is, as I said, is Williams, and we'll see post that who gets the which family and friends get the next lot. And I've still got a fleece jumper cut out to sew in some blue sheepy fleece, which I made some pyjama trousers out of. It's not going to fit little toddle chops now, so it'll have to wait for his little brother to grow into, which is fine. We can manage that. Just put it into the clothing box for that particular age range, and away we go. So yeah, lots of projects cut out. The waterproof fabric, the terry toweling and the pink cotton that I'm waiting for, I am working on a commission project, making up some different bibs and feeding covers for a friend of mine's little girl, and maybe see more of those later on. And yeah, I think, looking around just to quickly check, I think that's about it for sewing. yeah, 3 projects completed, so that's 1 a week, which is in line with my goal for this year, and lots more cut out and planned. So hopefully I'll get plenty of sewing time in. Right, on to spinning. I have managed a fair amount of spinning actually, despite illnesses and whatnot. Still picking Sherpa fleece fabric of everything, honestly. So pretty much all of it has been working on, other than the washing and the thwacking, has been working on this pomegranate by John Arbon, and it is lovely. It's a mixture of dark and medium reds, bright reds. And I have Navajo plied it again. That's a bit of a bumpy bit. But I seem to have spun this up more evenly, and the Navajo ply has definitely gotten easier this time round. So hopefully it's not going to be as squirrely, and it'll be more balanced yarn. The Masham wasn't as balanced as I'd like it to be. So yeah, definitely finding the Navajo ply, the chain ply, easier with practice. Although Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel Speaks, one of the podcasts I watch, she has alerted me to another ply variety. It's thread plying. So it's where you ply your spun singles with another thread. So it can be like an embroidery thread or a little yarn thread or something. I've got some massive bobbins of some, or massive cones, sorry, of some absolutely glorious yarns that I was gifted an age ago. So when I do the purple John Arbon, this is the red one, and when I do the purple, I'm going to probably try thread plying that with one of these glorious cones of yarn. Try and get a bit more yardage out of it. I might then get a sweater quantity, if it doesn't have sleeves, maybe. Or part of a sweater in the purple. So I will see how much quantity I can then get. I will, when I have finished this, when I wind these onto the Niddy Noddy, I'll work out how much yardage I've managed to get from this. I know I've managed to spin this with the practice now that I've been having. I know I've managed to spin this a lot. I mean, this is 3 ply now. But I know I've managed to spin this a lot thinner this time than, say, the skein I spun. This is 2 ply. So this is the skein I spun at the beginning of the month, and that's the 2 ply. So you've got the 2 ply and the 3 ply. So I've definitely gotten thinner on the plying, which is great. So yeah, that's the spinning update. Weaving, unfortunately, with all the illnesses and whatnot and busyness the last few weeks, something's had to give, and weaving was it. Plus I keep forgetting to ask James to help me pull the weaving around the loom, so I can start the next section. I've got a few photos to insert here, but I reckon I'm well over halfway now up the loom, and hopefully now be able to give it some love now over the next couple of weeks. So shop update. Last Friday saw the release of the Love Hearts hat. So far it's available in my Etsy shop and in my Ravelry pattern store. And head on over, have a snoop if you'd like to. And I'm planning to release the next one, the broadleaf hat, around about the next time I podcast. I wanted to aim this year for 1 pattern a month. I've got one that I've just gotten back from the broadleaf's now been out to test knitters for a little while. So 2 weeks now, I think, should be about right now to get hopefully some more of them in. And the Coniferous has come back now from the tech editor, so I need to tweak that and sort that and change all the bits and pieces as she suggested to in her edits. That's the lovely Maria, who's my tech editor. Hi, Maria. So yes, I'm putting a call out now for test knitters for the coniferous hat. All the details will be in the Ravelry group. So if you want to head on over and do a bit of test knitting for me, that would be fantastic. So yeah, shop update. Love Hearts hat out now, live. It's going to be on Love Knitting as soon as I can. Then Broadleaf in 2 weeks, and then sometime in March, the coniferous hat. So keep your eyes peeled. So on to baking. These past 2 weeks we've been a bit more kitchen productive again after a small hiatus after Christmas, you know, that post-Christmas slump. After all the baking I did before Christmas as well, I was a bit like, no more. So I tried to make an apple pie I saw in a video on Facebook. I saw the video once. Do you think I could find it again? Nope. Couldn't find it anywhere, but I could remember what it was, and actually it turned out really, really nicely. I'll insert a photo of it here. That's the uncooked version. I didn't get a photo of the cooked version with ice cream and whatnot. It disappeared too quickly. Sorry, yawning again. But it is apple pie, basically with a crust of cinnamon swirl pastries. What's not to love? Warm that up, slap a load of ice cream with it. Oh, it was amazing. But it's not the sort of thing you want to have every day. I don't think it'll do your arteries any good at all. But anyway, it was lovely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a few tweaks because I remember what I did. I'm going to make a few tweaks to it, and then I'm going to make it again, and then hopefully I'll blog the recipe. Excuse me, shortly. Sorry, it's getting to that witching hour where I start yawning again. So yeah, it turned out great. So I'll blog what the recipe was then later on. So if any of you fancy making it, you can do. The next thing I made then was some banana loaf cakes. Little man went off his bananas. Normally he has like one a day for breakfast, but he went off his bananas while he was poorly. So I had loads that just got overripe in the fruit bowl. They were almost over, so I went on the interwebs, and BBC Good Food gave me a fab recipe for banana loaf cakes. I will put the link for that in the show notes over on the blog and in the Ravelry group. But it's their brilliant banana loaf, and yes, it was lovely. The only tweak I made to that was chucking in a load of chocolate chips, because toddlers love everything if it's got chocolate in it. My toddler does anyway. He's definitely my toddler. So on the same day then, because we had the oven all fired up, James made a vat of spaghetti bolognese sauce and a pot of leek and potato soup with his go-to Delia recipe, and a lasagna for tea. So, kitchen smelled amazing that day. It was yum. Okay, so farm update. Well, there's been snow, and then there's been colds, and then there's been cold, wet weather, and then there's been hail, and then there's been more snow. So we've done a fair bit really indoors the last couple of weeks, finishing off bits of house, glossing door returns, glossing the understairs cupboards. James has built housing for his electric fence gubbins. I'll insert some photos of all this sort of stuff around the place. He's been collecting wood like no tomorrow. The chickens have gone on to adult food, finally. They finished their baby food and have been allowed onto adult food. So it means that the one hen out of the two that we got is possibly going to start some laying. Di, sorry, that's Ian, the one hen that we got. Di has even started to try and crow. Well, they're sort of proto-crowing, I'm calling it at the moment. I'll try and insert an audio clip at some point along here. If not, I might be able to get it onto Facebook or onto the blog somehow. I'll have a fiddle around and see what I can do, because it's rather pitiful. But it is improving every day, our poor neighbours. James has been collecting wood like absolutely no tomorrow, splitting it, stacking it, working really, really hard with that. And yeah, other than that, we've had a growth scan again on the baby that is due at the end of March. I've started washing all the clothes, freshening them up. Next job is the car seat, the baby seats. We've built the cot now, which is just, I don't know if I move to the thing. Oh, no, the seat moves with me. If I slide there, we now have the cot there, built up beside the bed, because I podcast from the corner of my bedroom, which is where my craft room is now these days. So yeah, we're on countdown now. We've got just over 5 weeks, but I've managed to convince myself that this one, rather than Toddle Chops was 10 days late, so I've managed to convince myself that we're going to be early. So yes, I'm trying to get a bit more organised with that and sorting out. So the last thing then on the list of things to do on my show notes over here is the giveaway, the alpaca yarn, which is, excuse me, leaning right the way back here, all the way back here, sat here waiting for me to announce the giveaway. We have 2 skeins of alpaca yarn. There is one in the grey and one in the charcoal. So I did the random number generator, and the first number drawn was, drum roll please, Anita from Gaga Knits. So this grey one, Anita from Gaga Knits, and she Gaga Knits on YouTube. She's a podcast I mentioned possibly a week, well, the last time I podcast, or maybe the time before that. She's a fairly new podcast on YouTube, so go and check her out. But Anita, you got the grey, and the other one is Ange, I think it's Ange I Ship 13 on Instagram. The charcoal alpaca. So if you could both either PM, DM, message me your postal addresses, and I will get the yarn parcelled up and sent off to you at the earliest opportunity. So, the winners of the alpaca. And yeah, I think that's about all, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like the episode, click like down in the box below. If there's any questions or anything you want to ask me, pop it in the comments. I do try and answer everybody reasonably quickly, or head on over to the Ravelry group where the show notes will be. Feel free to chatter away in there. Yeah, thank you very much for watching and sticking with me for the length of time. Welcome, I forgot to say at the beginning, welcome if you're a new viewer, welcome back if you're an old viewer. I need to get into the habit of saying that. So yes, thank you very much for spending your time with me this afternoon, and I hope you have a nice couple of weeks of crafting.